Happy Friday. You are listening to the She Heals Radio Show on Awesome God Radio. It is Friday, May 7th, 2021. I am your host, Whitney J. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are tuning in on the Awesome God Radio app or on any of our Awesome God Radio social media platforms, thank you so much. If you have not downloaded the Awesome God Radio app or followed us on all social media platforms, please do so. Amazing shows, amazing music, amazing sermons, and we are just getting started. If you are tuning in on my YouTube page, thank you so much. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube page, Whitney Hogan's, what are you waiting for? Do it. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment on the live, share it. And last but never least, if you are tuning in on Facebook Live, thank you so much. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and share it to your page. I am super pumped up. We have an amazing show ahead. An amazing woman is joining us in the second half. Kim Rich. Oh, she is amazing. I can't wait for y'all to talk to her or to listen to her rather. But listen, y'all, it's a lot to cover. It is Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to every mother. I pray that this weekend you feel loved and cared for. Hey, Michelle, I love you so much. It is also Teacher Appreciation Week. So my fellow educators, I hope you felt appreciated this week and loved on and cared for. I know I felt something. I don't know exactly what it was, but I felt something. No, shout out to my school. We are great, but it's been a rough school year. Educators just know an amazing job. It is also Nurses Appreciation Week. If you are a nurse, thank you so much. Oh my goodness, with this pandemic, we are forever indebted to all healthcare professionals for making sure that, doing the best that they can in the midst of an impossible situation. So we honor you. And last but never least, it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and that will be the focus of our time today. I was going to wear this shirt, but I couldn't find it in my closet. It says, "It's okay to not be okay." And so that is the focus of the She Heals Inspiration segment today. It is okay to not be okay. Oftentimes we put our brave face on, right? And especially as women, as mothers, as Black women, especially, we put that brave face on, right? We press our way through something and we just go in, right? And so, a lot of times the weight of the world is on our shoulders, right? But you would never know because we do our hair, we put our clothes on, and we get our face together, and we step out in the world, and we don't know what's going on inside, right? And so many of us are battling. And if you weren't before, this last year alone took so much out of so many people. We've all been impacted in some way. Right. And it took so much out of us. And, not just with the pandemic, but then the social injustice that is happening and the racism that is like rampant right now. And just so many things, not to mention any personal things, anxiety, depression, loss, divorce, abuse, all kinds of things that can take place, right? And it just weighs on you. And one of the things that we tend to do, especially as believers, is we think that we are supposed to have this position of contentment all the time, meaning we're just good all the time. And yes, the word, we are supposed to be, present in our situation. We're supposed to be content with where we are, knowing that God is faithful to do what he has promised us. But I think that there has to be a space for not being okay, because God can take that too. And so many of us, though, are living in bondage because we are not okay, but we are trying to pretend that we are okay, and we're not getting what we need, right? Because we also look okay. So imagine if, I said to you right now, you might see me and I might seem like I'm in a good mood and I'm smiling and I'm good. And I said to you right now, I cut myself and I'm bleeding out. You can't see it right now, but I cut myself on my leg and I am literally bleeding. If you were to look at my leg, it is blood all over the place. It looks like a murder scene, right? You wouldn't believe me, right? Because I look okay, right? I look like I'm doing well. I look like I'm not in any pain or discomfort or uncomfortable in any way. I look okay. So therefore I must be okay, right? Wrong. So many of us look okay. So many of us have mastered the art of looking okay. So many of us are so good at looking okay that we can temporarily convince ourselves that we are actually okay when we are not. And so it's super important that you know where you are and you give that to God. So if you're not okay, walk in that, because it's okay. He can handle it. Walk in the, you know what, God, I am struggling mentally right now. God, I am struggling emotionally right now. I may even be struggling physically or financially or spiritually. There's all kinds of ways that I could be struggling. But God, I got to be honest with you and I have to give you my truth because it's not going to do me any good pretending that I'm okay when I'm really not. I'm actually delaying my healing by not revealing the thing that is bothering me. I'm delaying the peace that I deserve, the peace that that God desires for me to have, because I simply won't admit there's a problem. And there's so many reasons why people will, not admit it. Number one, some people don't feel safe to do that. People all the time, we say things, right? We, especially with social media, we have a way of just saying things, and we have these statements that we make and we say it without even thinking or meaning. No different than when people say, I'm gonna pray for you. Do they actually pray? Some people do, but some people, they just say it and they don't always follow through. One of the things that we always say is, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. I'm here for you. How many times have you heard over your life someone saying to you, I'm here for you, especially if you've experienced a loss or some type of, situation. Hey, if you need anything, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Come, you can talk to me anytime. Call me anytime. That's something I say a lot. I do mean it, but it's something that I do say a lot. And the problem is a lot of us say it, but have we created a safe space for that person to actually do it? So it's one thing to say, let me know if you need anything or call me if you need to talk. But if you created a safe space that when that person does that, can you handle it? Are you safe? Is their brokenness safe with you? Is their revelation safe with you? Are their secrets safe with you? Is their trauma safe with you? Can you take that? Or are you getting the information so you can go share it with somebody else? Are you getting the information so you can judge? Are you getting the information so you can feel better about yourself? Because at least you're not dealing with that. So it's one of those things that we say it and then we get frustrated when people don't tell us, but have we created a safe space for them to truly be able to be themselves? I am people that know me intimately, I like to laugh. I like to keep things on the up and up. I like to be positive. I try to, that is who I am as a person. But the other side is that I really struggle sometimes. The anxiety takes over. The depression can take over, and I can really be in a low place. And there are few people that I feel safe that I can say, I really need you to pray with me. I'm not well. Today's not a good day. I'm in the midst of something right now. I'm thankful that I have those safe people that I can come to, that can truly take me when I'm not bubbly Whitney, when I'm not Whitney J that is super excited and pumped up and going to encourage you. They can take it when I'm not my best. They can take it when I'm hurting. They can take it when I'm crying out before God. So you have to create that space for those people that God has assigned you to. And then you have to be vulnerable enough on the other side of that to share. There's so many times in my life that help was available to me, but I didn't use it because I wasn't vulnerable enough to share. So many times I think of, the suicide attempts that I personally have had. The last one being at 20 years old, getting ready to turn 21. I had a 3-month-old baby, postpartum depression on top of actual depression, not in therapy, not doing anything about it. And things they came to a head, and I attempted to take my life and had to be hospitalized for a 72-hour psych evaluation. And during that time, God spoke to me. And he showed me that I had everything that I needed already around me. I actually did have people that were willing to kind of carry my burdens with me. I had people around me that could support. I had access to therapy and doctors and the things that I needed to be well. And so for many of us, that's our situation. We haven't felt vulnerable enough to be able to share. And then there are people that are not blessed with those resources. So they got to look for them. They got to find them. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So during this, specifically this month as Mental Health Awareness Month, just be mindful of who's around you. Do some check-ins. I am the queen of checking in with people. Hey, you good? How can I pray for you today? And, it might sound kind of cliche when I say it, and people might even think that, I don't know, but I genuinely mean like, hey, are you good? When I'm asking you, are you good? I mean that. I mean, are you okay? And if you're not okay, I'm prepared to support that. whether it's a prayer, a phone call, or if there is a tangible need that I could meet, whatever it is, I'm prepared for that. So when I'm reaching out to people and I'm asking them, hey, are you okay? How can I pray for you? How are you? It's a genuine desire to know and to support. Check in with your loved ones. Check in with, the people that are part of your community, because you never know who's struggling. We all look good. And social media makes us look even better, right? I can post something funny and be laying in my bed crying. You wouldn't know it, right? So check on the people that you love. Check on the people that are around you and pay attention. Ask God to give you eyes to see. Ask God to give you eyes to see. Hey, it's so funny because I remember being somewhere and this person, I was at this event or something for a friend of mine. So I knew some of the people there, but I didn't know everybody there. And some of the people that I knew there, I was more so acquainted with. I didn't know them intimately. But I remember being there and there was this one person and they had us cracking up. I mean, falling out, your stomach hurting, laughing. I mean, I was like, oh my God, this person is hilarious. And as I was sitting there, I heard God say, pray for them. They're deeply depressed. And I was just like, absolutely not. They are, hilarious. They are having a good time. But I didn't ask questions. I didn't know them well enough to connect. I just prayed. God, you put that thought in my mind and in my heart, then And so you just never know who is around you and what they're struggling with. You don't know what's behind somebody's smile. Listen, I can tell you some things that I've went through in the last 6 months that people, if they knew, would be like, I can't even believe you are smiling right now. I can't even believe that you are not bitter or angry or depressed beyond repair. I can tell you things that I've been throughout the course of my life that people might look and say, wow, that's insane. But for the grace of God and for amazing therapists and for the work that I had to put in to get the healing. And it's a continuous process. I have not arrived. I am still in process. But I think you guys, one of the things that we get confused about is we think that we give our lives to God and everything just gets cool. But you got to do some work, and healing takes work. The biggest step is revealing the offense. Don't downplay it. That's a word for somebody. I have a tendency of downplaying offenses towards me. I'll make less of it because if I really tap into what that really was, it hurts too much. So I'm just going to look at it like, oh, maybe it wasn't that. And I'll try to find some reason or some excuse as to why the offense wasn't as big as maybe it felt. But if you downplay rather the offense, you delay the healing. So you got to speak that thing. You got to say what it is. If it was disrespect, it was disrespect. If it was assault, it was assault. If it was, if someone being dishonest with you, that's what it was. If it was an attack, it was an attack. If it was stealing, it was stealing. I could go on and on for days. You got to say what that thing is. You have to really sit with the reality of what it is. Not what you think it is, not what somebody else told you it was or it wasn't. You have to sit and think about what it is to you. And here's the thing. If it hurt you, it matters. Don't allow people to tell you what something is or is not. You have to know for yourself, well, this offended me. This hurt me. So who is someone else to say, oh, well, that's not that. You shouldn't be upset. If it matters to you, it matters to God, and it matters, period. So first you got to reveal what it is. Then you have to seek help. This is the one that's hard, y'all. Some of us, I used to be like this, did not like help. I just wanted to handle it myself. I was Whitney. I'm a soldier. Like I can handle whatever. And realizing that it's not intended for me to handle things by myself. I needed help. And so I had to say what it was and I had to seek help. Help can be therapy. There ain't nothing wrong with therapy. Everybody should have a therapist. Because we are all, even if it's just getting a different perspective on something, therapy it's not a result or it's not a byproduct of trauma or a problem. Therapy can be proactive. It doesn't always have to be reactive. Therapy is a different perspective. It's helping you process the things that happen, good, bad, or indifferent. So if we stop making therapy as this, oh, something big has happened, I've now got to go to therapy because of it. If you just put it as therapy is a proactive measure to process life. That's what it is. Call it what it is and treat it as such. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And there's so many people out here judging people going to therapy, and they need like 5 therapists themselves. They got all kinds of stuff. It's the people with the most judgment that need the most help. Please know that. Please know that. Get yourself a good therapist, not just any therapist. Sometimes you got to shop around till you find the person that meshes well with you, that can speak to you in a way that you can receive it. And listen, you have to also, don't just get the therapist, be ready for the work. Therapy is work. Be ready to be vulnerable. Be ready to share things that are uncomfortable. Be ready to sit in uncomfortable feelings, because sometimes you release something and it feels good in that moment. And it's like, oh, good, I got that out. Other times I have left some therapy sessions like, I got to go to bed. I am worn out. I feel like I just did 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. Like, because sometimes it doesn't feel good. Going to those low places, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes also in therapy, being willing to hear another perspective can be difficult. We all have narratives. So if my narrative is this person hurt me and they are a horrible person and that's it, that's all. And then my therapist says, well, can we try this perspective? It challenges my narrative. And when we challenge our narrative, growth happens. Because it's uncomfortable. Sometimes we have to challenge that narrative. Well, let's peel that back. Is that the entire story there? Or is that part of the story? Is that the entire thing? Or did you take this one thing and you just created the narrative around it and you're unwilling to tap into any other parts of it? Therapy is a process. It takes work. It is not a one and done. It's not, oh, I did this, I went for a couple weeks. No, I've been in therapy for years. And I see no end in sight. And I feel, I will say this, over the past year specifically, I took a different approach to therapy. This is just my own story. I have been in therapy consistently for years, but I, said, you know what, I'm going to go to weekly therapy. The pandemic ended up being a blessing in disguise as far as having therapy meetings via Zoom. Because then I didn't have to coordinate daycare and who's going to watch what and all of those things. And so I would get in my car, y'all, so I could talk freely and do my therapy appointment. And I really started going. I went to those low places. I went to I opened Pandora's box, for lack of a better term. I went to those places that are really, really sensitive for me. The places that I dance around, I tiptoe around rather. But I went there and said, you know what, we're going to open this up because I am almost 35 years old and I want to live free. And I can't love God and still be bound. And I cannot get freedom until I reveal what is holding me back. So I had to get this. I had to open it up. And man, it has been a journey. But it's been a journey of so much healing and understanding. And I'm telling you, even though I'm in the midst of fighting through some really, really tough stuff, I ain't even going to sugarcoat that for y'all. I'm really dealing with some heavy, heavy things, but I have never felt more free than I do now. And I know that I'm on the tip. I haven't even really gotten into some things just yet. I've never felt more free. I've never felt more like I can be myself and that's okay. Because I had to go to that deep place and I had to trust God that if I open this and I say that thing out loud, that you are faithful enough to cover me, to comfort me, to restore me, to repair me, to transform me, to give me a new perspective, to, guard my heart, but not harden my heart, to be open. There's so much that comes when you really actively pursue your healing. And so it has been a journey. It is not easy. Like I said, some therapy sessions I leave feeling good. Some therapy sessions I feel leaving drained, but I show up every time and I do the work and I'm seeing the results, but it takes time. That's the other thing. Healing takes time. You got to say what hurt you. You've got to get help. You got to trust the process and let it take the time that it needs. If it took years to happen, if it took years for you to even say what happened or to even admit what happened, then it's going to take some time to heal from it. So you got to be gentle with yourself during this process because it's not easy. You're doing healing that will affect your family. It might even be generational curses that you're breaking. It might even be things that your children won't have to go through because you've done the work. So you're doing a big thing. So big things take time. And again, what type of healing do you want? Do you want a microwave healing that, you throw it in the microwave and you cook it for 3 minutes and it's like popping, looks like it's going to set on fire. And then you take it out only to find out one section of the meal is hot and the other part is still frozen? Or do you want a crock pot healing where you put it in there and yes, it takes a little longer and it even works a little slower, but it's going to be food that lasts. It's going to be food that is flavorful. It's going to be food that is worth the wait. So what is it that you want? Do you want something that's quick or do you want something that's going to last? If you want it to last, you got to do the work. That's it. There is no shortcut. The only way is through. And many of us want, we want the shortcut. I want it to just be easy. I'm tired. I get it. But the only way is through. You got to do the work. And you got to be willing to take correction. This is the thing that's hard. Some of us go through things where we've had a few things that have happened to us that are completely out of our control and it was not our fault at all. Okay? There are certain things that may happen that was completely out of our control and it was not our fault at all. If we are not careful, we will approach everything that happens to our life from that lens of somebody else. It's their fault. Right? When there are things that happen to us in our lives that are our fault, and it is a result of our behavior and our choices. And even though that trauma and those experiences may have guided that, it's still on us. So prime example, I'm an emotional eater. I like to eat when I'm stressed. And when I'm not stressed, I like to eat all the time for real, but that's a story for another time. So I'm an emotional eater. So when I am feeling depressed, I eat junk food, ice cream, cake, whatever, right? And so now that I'm getting older, my metabolism has slowed down some, right? So that, when I was 20, I could eat whatever I want and wouldn't gain any weight. But at 34, almost 35, and after having 2 children, my body is different. And so I will look at myself sometimes and I'm like, I need to lose like 10 to 15 pounds. I go through this every year. It's this 10 to 15 pounds that I want to lose, right? And it's like, but I'm so stressed because this is happening and that's happening. Okay. And some of those stresses may be outside of my control. But my choice is to eat unhealthy and not exercise. That part I have to own. So I may not be able to it may not be out of my fault that a pandemic happened, right? It may not be my fault that I've had some family losses and some other things that have happened, but my weight gain is on me because it is a direct result of my behavior. So it's not somebody else's fault. It is my fault because it is a direct result of my behavior. So here's the thing, that when things start happening and offenses happen towards us, you have to make sure that you also have eyes to see your part when that applies. It doesn't always apply, but when it does apply, you've got to own your part. Okay, so this situation happened, and every time, I go through the same thing every time. Every time I have a friend, this happens. Every time I'm in a relationship, this happens. Every time I get on I start a new job, this happens. At some point, you have to also be willing to look at yourself and to do some self-reflection as well. What can I change? Even if it's not my habits, maybe it's my mindset. Maybe it's the words I speak over myself. And this is where therapy is really good because it gives you that outside perspective. And even in your alone time with God, I don't need you just to change my circumstances. I also need you to change me so that I don't have to keep experiencing this same thing. So Lord, what is it that I can change? Is it what I'm listening to? Is it my routine? Is there something in my routine that I could change? Maybe I'm not spending enough time with God. Maybe I need to get outside for 10 minutes and go on a quick walk. Maybe I need to call that therapist. Maybe I need to have that difficult conversation that I've been avoiding. Whatever it is, God, equip me with what I need to do the things that I need to do for healing, because healing is available, but I got to do the work. Show me, God, what is your perspective on this situation? Because again, wherever the narrative in our mind says, our behavior will shift to that. In our lens in which we see it will shift to that. So if I'm always the victim, this was me. Ooh, this was me. I was always the victim. Never took accountability for anything that I did. It was always because of somebody else or because of something that happened in my past. And it wasn't until I really got serious about therapy and my therapist said, okay, hey, listen, but you're, I get what you're saying, but that thing that happened to you happened 20 years ago. So walk me through how that impacts your decision making right now. Because we need to go back there and we need to do some healing so that you can be fully present in today and not making decisions based on a 20-year-old affliction. So you got to do some work here. We got to do some work here. So you got to get the right person that's going to come. And this is where, God sends you. He will orchestrate the people that he has for you for your healing. You won't even have to ask for them sometimes. He will literally just mold them and move them. But you've got to be willing to do the work. And you got to have eyes to see the total picture. Hurt people. It's a fact. A lot of times the things that we are experiencing hurt from another person is due to their own unhealed hurt. Does it make what they did to you right? Absolutely not. Does it make it okay? Absolutely not. But it should be motivation for you to heal for yourself, to forgive them for yourself so that you don't hurt anybody else because of your hurt. It's one of those things that you've got to be willing to shift and to get the healing that you deserve. And here's the thing. Healing is not for them. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. It's for you. Because you don't deserve to be bound by somebody else. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve to be bound by somebody else where every time you see them or you hear their name or something, you automatically, it shifts how you feel. That is bondage. And God is calling us out of that. So I don't care what it is that has been holding you back, whether it is a person, whether it's an event in your life, whatever it is, you and God know, and it's no judgment. You got to give that thing to him. You got to say out loud. My challenge for you tonight is to say out loud what it is, what hurt you. Who hurt you? Say it out loud. Give it to God. Cry out to him. Scream, kick, cuss, whatever. Give it to him. He can take it. He can take it. And ask him to guide you towards your healing. Ask him to send the help that you need, whether it be a therapist, whether it be a coach, a support group, whatever it is, he will send it to you. And then you got to get yourself ready. Put your Vaseline on. Stretch it out. And get ready to fight, because your healing is imperative. You deserve to be free. You don't deserve to be bound. You deserve to be completely healed and moved on from that thing. You deserve to be so free that you look back and you laugh like, you thought that situation was going to break me, but look at what my God has done. Look at, you don't even recognize yourself anymore because you are so healed. That is my prayer for you. That is my desire for you, that you will be totally healed. But it comes with something. You got to do the work. I wish that God just gave out freebies, because listen, I would be the first in line. Okay. I'm tired of working sometimes. I jokingly say, I'm tired of healing because it's a lot of work, but I deserve to live better. God desires for me to live better. He desires for you to live better. It's no judgment. Doesn't matter how long you've been dealing with whatever. Doesn't matter what you did, what you didn't do. God is here. He's available. He loves you. He wants you to be well. You got to speak that thing. Say what it is. He's faithful. He's faithful. He will provide everything that you need. And you can do this. Some of us think that healing is not possible. That's a lie from the pit of hell. You can do this because you are attached to a God that loves you so much. You can because he can. You will because he can. So tap into that. Get your healing and become your best self. You deserve it for you, and you're worthy of it. That was the She Heals Inspiration segment. I pray that you were blessed. As we are shifting into the second half of the show, we're going to have the same topic. I am super excited for this amazing woman to join me. Listen, I'm a little biased, but I think my high school has breeded some of the best people that I know. And it is so cool. This is the great part of social media where you can reconnect with people. And we have been connected for years. We went to high school together. And I want to say it was over the summer. I'm not going to get too much into it because we'll get into it when she joins us. But we started chatting. And man, when she told me her story, again, you see someone all the time and you have no idea what they have been through, what they're going through. And she is just amazing. She is an amazing wife, mother. She is a mental health advocate. She's a blogger. She is a new author, y'all. She's got all things. She's just a bad girl. So let's just bring her in. We want to welcome to the She Heals Radio, Ms. Kim Rich. Hey, Kim.
Hi. How are you?
I am good. You look beautiful as usual.
Thank you.
So good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited. We know it is a Mental Health Awareness Month, and I know that you are a strong mental health advocate, and I am just super excited to just jump right in and talk about all the things. So first, introduce yourself to the She Heals Radio Show, and then we will get started.
Hi, She Heals Radio Show. My name is Kim Rich, as Whitney already said. We've actually known each other since middle school. Since middle school. We're not going to tell you what year that was, but we've known each other since middle school.
It was a long time.
And it's a long time ago. We'll leave it at that. And I started blogging in 2019 by accident. I was in therapy. I wholeheartely believe in doing therapy, having a therapist, staying in constant communication with your therapist, and doing the work, as Whitney just talked about. And I was in therapy, and my therapist said, it might be a good time for you to start writing down your thoughts and your ideas, and writing through some things, maybe writing letters to people that you feel have wronged you. Just start writing them. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll kind of make them into a blog. And I had a coworker that was talking about buying up your social media handles and having websites. And at the time, I'm like, I'm an administrative assistant. I'm an executive assistant. I'm kind of in the background. There's no reason for me to have a website, but I'll buy it. Maybe I'll use my Instagram name for something, right? So I start writing in the blog space, and I start saving my stuff in WordPress, and it's feeling good. And I'm up late one night, and I accidentally hit publish instead of save. And there you have it.
Wow. Wow. And I mean, what I love about your blog is and just about you in general, is that you're so honest. And it's just a rawness and an honesty, and it's a comfort that comes of like, this is a safe space. And I just love that. So talk a little bit about it, and of course, share as much or as little as you choose, just a little bit about your story and about who you are, as we also lead up to chatting about your book.
Sure. So I am the youngest of four, technically, but I am an adopted child. So I have a number of siblings. When I say I'm the youngest of four, I'm the youngest of four from the family that raised me. So they're not biologically related to me at all. I was raised by my godparents. My biological mom had me when she was in high school. She was about 18 years old. I believe she was a senior. I was born in January, so I was born before she graduated. And she was not in a position to raise me. It was a lot that went along with that. She got, when she told her parents she was pregnant, they asked her to leave. She ended up moving in with her grandparents, which were my great grandparents. And they were already late 60s and their 70s. So like their kids were grown, very grown. Okay. Right. So they had no space in their mind for a baby, let alone their great grandchild. I'm the first great grandchild. And so my mother starts, the summertime comes, summer gets hot. Everybody wants to go outside. She's a teenager. you know? And so she gets to the point where she just really can't take care of me. She can't. And at the time, she reached out to a family that was in the neighborhood. She had already asked them to be my godparents. And between her and her grandparents, my great grandparents, they made the decision for me to go and stay with my godparents. Now, that was supposed to be a short-term thing, from what I understand. She had in her mind that she was always going to come back. But unfortunately, I kept growing, and her life took a turn for the worse. She made, some poor decisions, and she had some things that happened to her. I wouldn't say that she made poor decisions. I would say that she's a product of the things that happened to her. So she worked with the hand that she was dealt, right? And so because of that, I was not raised by my mother. My father for the longest time, I knew him as an uncle, but come to find out, he was my dad. Now, my mother and father were step siblings. So I don't have anything weird going on as far as them being related to each other, but they were step siblings and they were teenagers and they did what teenagers do, right? So I'm the product of that situation. So growing up, I've kind of always known, I knew that the people that raised me weren't my biological parents, but I didn't know who my dad was. I knew who my mom was. I had a relationship with my mom's biological family, my grandparents, my great grandparents, etc. But I had no relationship that I knew of with my dad. And so about 10 years old, I found out that this man was my father, allegedly. We'll say allegedly because, to this day, we don't have a relationship, and I am not acknowledged in any way. So I don't know how many siblings I have on that side. I just know that the family that raised me, I'm the youngest of 4. My mother that had me, I'm her only child. So, so as I got older, I really struggled with rejection, right? Because there were times when my mom would call when I was small and say she was coming for the weekend or she was coming to get me to go here or there, and she would not come. But it wasn't until I was much older that I realized that my mother was dealing with substance abuse. And so in her best mind, she probably really believed that she was going to come, she was going to make it, she was going to get there. But because of the substance abuse, it didn't happen that way. So I went from feeling rejection from my mom to turning 16 years old, and my father that raised me, my godfather, died. And when he died, I was devastated because this is the only daddy I know, right? This is the only daddy that I had. This is the only daddy that claimed me. This is my daddy, right? And this man is gone. Like, he died. Like, so now what? So now who's going to be daddy? Who's going to be there at graduation? Who's going to be there? I'm 16. So like, I'm thinking about graduation. I'm thinking about prom. Like, I didn't have a daddy talking to my date at the prom. Now, I didn't even end up having any prom dates either, but I didn't have a daddy to talk to my date at the prom and bring her home. And I didn't have daddy when I got married, or my kids don't have a granddaddy on my side of the family because, my father's deceased and I don't have a relationship with this man. So all of those things. And I just kept, I'm thinking that I'm the little engine that could. I'm just chugging along. I'm pushing through. I'm making jokes. My thing is to make jokes, right? I make jokes out of the fact that, my parents are who they are. But the first thing I say to people when I explain that is, yes, they're my biological parents. No, they're not related. There's no blood crossing. No, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, that's how I have to say it. But that's the way that I've learned to cope with it, because it's traumatic. It's traumatic to learn that this man that you thought was your uncle is your dad, right? So I'm 10, pushing through all these things. Then 16, my dad dies. Then, other things happen in life. Really bad car accidents that I walked away from that I could have died, right? Then I get married. Well, I get engaged. And I go to the hospital. My husband takes me to the hospital. We were engaged at the time. And I have a blood clot in my lung. And while that might not seem like it's a big deal, And to me, I didn't really understand it because I had never been the type of person that had been sick, been hospitalized for anything. So I'm just like, okay, so you guys gonna give me some medicine and it's fine. Like, and so when they're like, no, honey, you have to be admitted. You have to stay here. And I'm like, I gotta stay? Like, what you mean I gotta stay? That's not, So then I'm staying in the hospital. Then my nurses are saying, oh, yeah, a young lady came in a week before you and she died.
Oh, okay, thanks.
What? So like I'm internalizing all these things. I'm internalizing not being raised by my mom, my dad leaving, my dad who raised me died, then these accidents, then this blood clot, right? Then after we deal with the blood clot situation. I get home, I'm on medication, everything is great. Me and my husband get married in a month. We decide that we don't want to wait. We want to get married now. Like it's too much going on. We know we want to be together. That's what it is. We get married in November. December, I find out I'm pregnant. I'm excited. Oh my gosh, like this is my blessing out of all of this stuff that I just dealt with, right? Like this is it. This is it. I lose the baby. This is like Christmas week, the week of Christmas. Okay. So then January comes. My husband starts a new job. Okay, this is great, right? We going through. 6 months later, he loses his job. He's laid off. Then a year comes by. He ends up getting a job. A year comes by, and we have my son. I get pregnant. So with this pregnancy, I have to take blood thinners and all these things the whole pregnancy. I have to give myself injections, literally, like somebody taking insulin every day. And I have my son, right? And I'm like, oh yes, this is it. Like, this is the culmination of all of the stuff that I've been through, right? And this is my happy ending, right?
Right.
And then I start dealing with anxiety.
Yeah.
And anxiety is a funny thing, right? Because for a person that's used to being in control, right? Being able to keep myself contained all those years, all that stuff that I experienced. And I still was smiling. I still was happy. I still was jovial. I could hang out with my friends. I was the life of the party. I could, you're gonna have a good time if you with me, right?
Right.
But I'm carrying all of these things that I'm not really responsible for, but I'm carrying.
Right.
Okay. So Caleb is born. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I struggled personally and privately, probably about 6 to 8 months. I was in denial. I didn't want to tell anybody. And I knew something wasn't right. I have anxiety in the car, right? So that means I have to drive, right? I have to drive I have to drop my son off. I have to go to work, all these things. Right. And I'm struggling, and I'm not saying anything to anyone. My husband don't know. My mom don't know. Only one person knew, and that was a close friend. And the only reason she knew is because I got to the point that I needed to talk to somebody in the car. I could not ride for a long time without having someone to talk to. Wow. So I would call her every morning. And I would call her every evening. And it got to the point that she would stay at work late to talk to me so I could get home. God will always send you somebody.
Always.
When you least expect it. Yeah. That wasn't her job. That's not her responsibility. She had to stay at work. She got her own family. She got her own things to deal with.
That's right.
But she said, you know what? It's okay. I prefer to come in later anyways. I don't like getting up early. I could just stay later. And when you get home, I'll get on the train and I'll go home. Yeah. So I make it through that, right? I think I have it under control, but I don't. I start getting irrational in my thoughts. I start becoming overly emotional, overly irritated. Everything is bothering me. And my husband is like, you should be happy, right? We have a baby. We are married. We both living, breathing, working. We have all these great things going on, and I'm unhappy. I'm miserable. I'm crying for no reason. I'm doing all these things I can't even There's no rhyme or reason to the stuff that I'm doing. And my husband and my mom had to basically have an intervention with me and say, you need to contact someone. You need to talk to someone and you need to seek help. And initially I didn't want to, right? Nobody does. Nobody wants to admit that they're weak.
No one.
Not a mom, right? You got all these things you got to do. You ain't got time to be weak. You ain't got time to cry. You don't have time for that. You got to get it together. You got to keep it moving, honey. We got stuff to do, places to go, people to see, right?
Right. And
I was just struggling. So much so that I ended up breaking down and calling a therapist and seeing a therapist and starting to take medication, starting to feel better. Then we moved to South Florida for my husband's job. And now I'm here alone, right? We don't have any family here. We don't have any friends here. We don't know nobody in the area. It's me, my husband, and a baby, an 8-month-old baby. And we trying to navigate a new place. At that point, I think we had one car. So my husband was going to work every day and I was home with this newborn all day. Okay.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole, yeah. And I realized very quickly that I'm not stay-at-home mom type. Not at all. So eventually I went back to work. Well, me going back to work means that I need a car, right? I need to be able to get back and forth to work just like my husband. So that means I got to drive again in a new place. So then the anxiety started to kick back up again. And over the years, I've been okay. Then it kicks back up for one reason or another. We all have triggers. Different things happen, different experiences come along, and it triggers you. And it may not have anything to do with the type of anxiety or depression that you experience, nothing to do with it, but you'll be triggered. And so 2020 was a hard year for me, like most people. Probably the worst my anxiety has ever been. Sleeping on the floor, crying on the floor, praying to God, praying to whoever, wherever, whatever, trying anything, sleeping with humidifier, diffusers on, everything that I can think of to try to just keep, to have peace, right?
Right.
And then you and I started to communicate, right?
Yes.
And we started to go through this process of, I think I want to write a book, right? And writing again helped me to get through those times. It helped me to get to what that and prayer and Jesus and medication and good doctors and therapy. But
yes. Yes. Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that. You just have again, I could listen to you all the time. I always tell you that. One of the things that and us working together and you just sharing, and I mean, we just talked and it was just so freeing to hear you and to share with you. And out of that, you have birthed this book that is coming out super, super soon. I am so excited. Let's talk a little bit about the book and then we can go from there. So let's talk a little bit about, you kind of led us up to sharing your story. So now let's talk about.
Sure. So we started, it's getting closer to a year that we started this process. Yeah. Initially, it was the blogs, right? And for a long time, whenever I would tell people my story, they would say, you should write that down. You should share your story. This is powerful, right? Other people need to hear this. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, I'm one in a million, it's not a big deal. Everybody has something, right? I tried to, like you said earlier, make these situations that I had smaller, right? It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, right? And so the whole thing with the publishing of the blogs came about, I started having people reach out to me and say, I read your blog today and I didn't know that happened to you. That happened to me. Or I didn't know you were an adopted child. I'm adopted too. Or I had postpartum depression and I didn't know what it was. And reading what you wrote helped me to understand what it is that I was going through, or you know, I'm just struggling with whatever it is that I'm struggling with. And you being able to share your story has really helped me to feel like, you know, I'm not alone, right? Because a lot of times the things that I was going through, I did feel alone. I did feel like I had friends, you know, I have friends and I have family, but I feel like, you know, nobody else that I knew was adopted, right? Nobody else that I knew, right? Nobody else that I knew had the type of experiences that I had at home. Nobody else, you know, their family was struggling financially, and you know, nobody else seemed to really have those things going on. It's like you said, like social media, like people let you see what they want you to see.
That's right.
But they don't give you the dirt that they had to pull themselves up out of and wash off in order to take that picture, right?
That's it. That's a word.
That's
right
it.
there. You don't see the 50 outtakes. You see the one fire picture.
No, you don't see the one where their eyes are closed and they're smiling. You don't get any of that. You get this perfect picture that they done edited down and it's perfect. Right. You know, right? You don't see all of the stuff that went into getting them there.
That's
and so I felt like I've always, if you ask me, I've always kind of been transparent with what was going on around me and what was happening, those that were closest to me. And so I felt like I wanted to create something that was authentic to myself, number one. But number two, I wanted to create something where other people who have had similar experiences or maybe not similar at all could feel the way that I felt, could get rid of some of the emotions and the feelings that they had about the things that the experiences they've had. But in addition to that, for those that maybe you haven't had these experiences, to be able to empathize with somebody that's going through or that's gone through these types of situations.
And that is so important. You don't have to necessarily understand, but you can be empathetic. That's such a word, because I will never understand what it's like to be adopted, but that doesn't mean that I can't show empathy.
Right.
That's a big deal. And so out of this came Rich Lessons.
Yep.
I just, one of the things I've been, as I was listening to you, and again, you're listening to the She Heals Radio Show, I just put in the comment section of all the live streams, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number. I've been doing that every week now for a while, because you just never know. You never know. And I just have to say, you know, as we're starting to wrap up the show, that, you know, if you are feeling depressed, anxious, if you are starting to feel and question your life, if your life has value, let me tell you, first of all, the enemy is a lie. Everything he said is a lie. And he will try to make you feel like no one wants you, no one cares. And that is not true. We serve a God that loves everybody here. There are people that care about you. There is help and resources available to you. And so please do not, sit back and let those feelings, it's almost like lava in a volcano. If you continue to sit them there, they will continue to grow and then it will erupt. Please reach out and get some help immediately, just to talk through that. With Kim, your blog and just your real and raw, honest conversations, you sharing your story. One of the things that I love is that you talk very candidly about anxiety and depression, and you really share, because it looks different for everybody, right? So I always would say I'm a functioning depressed person, almost like the term functional alcoholic. Like you never see, I'm not going to not shower. I'm not going to not go to work and go and handle my response. That's just not me. That does not mean, though, that I don't fall into that sunken place, right? I'm just someone that can pull myself up enough to go handle my business, right? So it looks different. And it is super important that we share our stories, that everyone share as they're healing, because people might think, oh, well, because it's not depression or anxiety because it doesn't look like this. You're still struggling. So I just wanted to thank you for that. As we are wrapping up, share a little bit about your website, about your blog, and about the book that's forthcoming so people can get in contact with you and purchase it when it comes out.
Yes. So my website is www.therichwife.com. So THERICHWY instead of IFE.com. you can find me there. That's where I post my blogs. The book will be there once it goes on sale. I'm hoping in the next couple of days it'll be published. I'm making final edits, final proofing, and it'll be on my website. It'll be on Amazon as well. You can follow me on social media. It's the same thing, The Rich Wife, on Facebook and Instagram. That's usually where I am. Instagram is usually where I am. That's how you can find me, and that's how you can find the book. And please go on the website and subscribe. That way you'll be the first to know when the book goes live.
Absolutely. And I am putting all the everything in the comment section. So the website is there, the Instagram is there. You just want to make sure that we have everything heavily so they can reach you and be able to connect with you. One of the things I wanted to share as we close out the show, I just wanted to say thank you to you. I am a very transparent person, but most of the time, people that are transparent still have a level of privacy. People think that because you're transparent, you share everything. And that's actually not true. And you have been one of the few people that I could share that Pandora's box stuff with. And so I just want to thank you for that. But I also just want to thank you for unapologetically being yourself. And my prayer for you is that God will continue to pour into you as pour out to so many through your family, through your work, through the blog, through your now book, and whatever else is to come. Your story is powerful. You are powerful. And it's just a pleasure and a blessing to know you. So I'm just happy to be connected. If you are tuning into the She Heals Radio Show, I'm talking to Kim Rich. She's a mental health advocate. She's an author, a blogger, a mama, a wife. She's all the good things. She's all the good things. And we are just chatting about Mental Health Awareness Month. So again, just to recap what we've talked about today, listen, healing is available to everybody. Therapy is necessary for everybody. Share whatever it is. My challenge again for tonight is for you to say out loud whatever hurts you. Whether it be a person, a situation, whatever, say it out loud and then pray and ask God to show you the steps towards your healing, because everyone's journey is different. Don't be ashamed if your journey requires therapy. Don't be ashamed if your journey requires medication. Don't be ashamed of whatever it requires. Just get your healing because you deserve it. Again, final thoughts, Kim. Anything that you want to share, always ask my guests to share a word of encouragement, because you just never know who's listening. So give your word of encouragement as we wrap up.
I would just say, find your people, right? Find your tribe. There are people out there just like you or empathetic to you that are always willing and available to be a listening ear. And when you don't have the tribe, pray to whatever it is you believe in, whether it's God, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Allah, whoever it is. Pray and spend that quiet time with yourself and with him, or whatever it is that you believe in, so that you can get the healing that you need. Seek counsel, most definitely. Seek counsel and do what you can. Protect your peace. Get off of social media. Take social media breaks. Hang up the phone. Do what you can to protect yourself. It's necessary.
Absolutely. It's so important. Everything you just said is just find your tribe. Find your tribe. Seek the healing that you need. And even don't knock the things that we think are not helpful. Get some sun. Yes, fresh air makes a big difference. Get some sleep. Eating right, drinking water. These are things that we say, but they make a difference. They make a difference. Do the things that you need to do to feel well, and know that you are deserving to be healed from whatever is bothering you. It does not have to hold you down anymore. I don't care if you're 70 and it's been holding you down for 50 years. Healing is still available. As long as there is breath in your body, life in your body, healing is available. So please get it. As we close out, again, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I want you to take time to reflect on where you are, who you are, and what you need, because you deserve to be healed. I want to send a special thanks to my super producer, Quincy, for always taking care of the show. Shout out to my Awesome God Radio family. I love you guys. It's an honor to be around you and to know you. To every mother, happy Mother's Day. Enjoy this day. And Mother's Day can be good for some. It can be sad for some, for many reasons. My prayer is that you receive peace on that day. Just enjoy it. Also, shout out to Kim Rich again. Thank you so much for being a guest on the She Heals Radio Show.
Thank you.
Let's go to her website, The Rich Wife, wife with a Y, not an I.com. So you can subscribe to her blog. You have all updates on her. Follow her on Instagram, the same handle. And also you'll be able to purchase her book, Rich Lessons, that will be coming out very, very soon. In closing, she thinks, she feels, she prays, she cries. She gets help. She trusts God. She trusts the process. And ultimately, she heals. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Have a blessed Friday, a blessed weekend. Take care. We'll see you back here next Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.